with all that, Sheila, go ahead. All the best.
Okay, thank you, Shrikant. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Shrikant and Rekha. And today's topic is Reiki. It's an ancient healing Japanese technique using universal life force energy. Rei means universal and Ki means life source energy. This Ki is also called Chi in Chinese, and in Sanskrit it is called prana. Yeah, so universal energy is everywhere, and there is an active exchange between all living beings. Even plants take the carbon dioxide which we breathe out, and we take the oxygen which they give out. And laying of hands is an ancient instinct. Actually, we all know about it, and human touch is representative of care, warmth, and love, and is freely used in healing. And when you have fever or you feel feverish, you might remember that your mother will put her hand on your forehead. And when the child is hurt, child wants you to touch the child or even kiss the child. So no wonder that most of the touch therapies, including Reiki, were inspired by this technique. Some of you might have heard Reiki, but most of you are actually, Reiki healers. When you go to your guru and bow at his feet, you are actually, and you feel better, and actually you are receiving Reiki from him. And when a friend comes to you in distress, you touch the friend, you console him, and you tell him that everything is going to be all right. You are giving Reiki. When you are feeling depressed and a child comes and hugs you, actually the child is giving you Reiki. And when you ask someone to send prayers or best wishes to someone who is in a remote area or a distant place, actually you are essentially asking that person to give you Reiki. So Reiki is, you have to connect with the inner self or the higher self. So it is kind of a spiritual practice, you can say, but it's not religious. It's not associated with any religion, and it doesn't infringe upon any of the practices of any religion. The next question is it a faith healing? Actually, it is not a faith healing, because young children and animals, they get healed. So naturally, there is no element of faith there. And here I would like to share you can say a Reiki story. All of us have some Reiki stories. And this was in 2011 when we were on a flight to Shanghai, China, from Toronto. This was a long flight and the flight was packed. My sister Lalita and my son-in-law were with me, and he was sitting in the middle seat. He's a doctor, and I can't say that he had belief in Reiki. And he was sitting next to me, and about 15 minutes into the flight, he told me that he is feeling very severe pain in the neck and head and things like that, and he was not feeling too well, and there were so many hours left for the flight to reach. So I was about to give him a tablet. Then he told me that, can you give me Reiki? So I was quite surprised, actually, because he had never asked me, although he knew that I do this Reiki for some of my family and friends. So I did a quick session on the flight itself, and he kept quiet, and after 10 minutes, he started smiling. So I thought that, he was making fun of Reiki or me or anything. So I told him that you are the one who asked me to give Reiki, and I would have given you a tablet or something. And then he said that, no, the pain is gone. So he calls it Reiki at 30,000 feet. And this was one of my stories, Reiki stories, you can say. I'll be sharing some others as the session progresses. And then now we come to the history of Reiki. The father of modern Reiki is Dr. Mikao Usui of Japan. He was a Christian minister in the 19th century. The dates are questionable. There is no documentation. And one day he was asked by his students if Buddha and Jesus Christ could heal with their hands, why not us? So Usui was so much intrigued by this question that he quit his job and he traveled all over the world, including America and India, in quest of an answer. He's supposed to have come here and enrolled in Detroit University, but there is no documentation. He spent some time in India, Nepal, and wherever Buddhism was present at that time. And he learned Sanskrit and Pali and these languages. He studied for a while. Then he went back to his country. But he was still not happy because he could read the sutras and everything now, but he could not interpret them because those days it was an oral tradition. So what he did was he took an intense retreat of 21 days of intense prayer, meditation, and fasting. He took with him 21 pebbles so that he throws one stone every day for the 21 days. And that is how he would keep track of time. Nothing happened, but on the 21st day, in the early part of dawn, when it was darkest, his third eye was hit by a very bright light, and he could see multiple and millions of rainbow bubbles, and Reiki symbols, etc., was revealed to him. So we can say that this is the first initiation of Reiki or attunement. Now, having received what he wanted, he descended down the mountain. This was called Mount Kurama, and he came down the mountain. And while coming, he stumbled upon a rock, and his toe was hurt, and he started bleeding, and there was a swelling on the toe. So instinctively, he touched that area, and he felt better. The bleeding stopped. So this is called the first Reiki miracle. He came down. Then there was an eatery there. He was hungry. So he went and ordered a full meal. Naturally, you all know that having fasted for 21 days, it is not advisable to eat a full meal all of a sudden. But he could manage with that. This is called the second Reiki miracle. After this, there was a waitress there who complained of toothache, and he touched her cheek, and the pain was gone. So this is the third Reiki miracle. And he healed an arthritis patient there. So this was Reiki miracle number 4. So having empowered with the healing powers, and he of a generous mind, he started going to the slums and treating people who had all the problems. Those days, people who were lame or had pains, severe pain or chronic pain, were used to begging and earn money. So he started healing them. They were healed, but they were not happy. They returned to the streets. And some of them were angry at Dr. Usui because there was no source of income for them. So frustrated by this, he developed what is called as Reiki Principles. We will see a slide and I will explain it further. And he decided to charge at least a minimum or token fee for the service because people had no value if they didn't pay for anything they received. So from then on, it's the tradition to pay something for Reiki session or a Reiki teacher. It may be a token money or whatever they charge, but that is a custom, you can say, for Reiki. Now, he trained in his life about 16 to 18 disciples. The exact number, of course, is not known. The system that time was an oral tradition and it was mostly spiritual. There were no hand movements, hand positions like now. And even the Reiki principles were sung as a song, and his practice was totally different. One of his disciples, who is credited with spreading the Reiki, is Dr. Hayashi. Dr. Hayashi was a reserve naval officer and a doctor. He ran a clinic which was very popular. And he was also of a spiritual mind. And to his clinic goes Mrs. Hawayo Takata from America. So she is responsible for the global spread of Reiki and the present standardization and giving structure to Reiki. Hawayo Takata, of course, it's all documented. She was born in the year 1900 in a pineapple cutting factory in Hawaii of immigrant parents. The family was poor and she was a sickly child. She was not fit for plantation work. So she did odd jobs like some teaching some small children or as a house worker or as a helper and things like that. And eventually she married a man who was an accountant there. And the man died at the age of 42 when she was, I think, 30 something, and with 2 children. Naturally, she was very depressed, being a single mother with 2 children of, not good health. So she was very depressed. And also she developed gallbladder stones and things like that. So she goes to Japan to her parents. There she was advised that she should have surgery. She goes and admits herself for surgery, but something in her told her that there must be something else. So she, at the last moment, she leaves that surgery and goes to Hayashi's clinic. She stays there for about 4 months and she's treated there and she feels very well. And having cured of her condition, naturally, she wants to learn Reiki before she comes here. But Hayashi and his team are not very happy to give Reiki teaching to this lady, not because she was a woman, but because she was from a foreign country and she's a foreigner. They didn't want this unique technique to go out of their country to another place. So finally, they relent after much requests. And she was given Reiki 1 and 2. She could practice and heal, but she could not teach. She was not given Reiki 3 at that time. Of course, later on, in after 2 years, she returns to USA, to Hawaii. And another 2 to 3 years, Dr. Hayashi visits USA. They do combined clinics. And that time, she is given the power to teach, that is Reiki 3 or master's level. And from then on, she becomes a grandmaster. Now, having come back to USA, she quickly takes a certification in massage therapy because she's not harassed. And she, being an American, she knows that when something is highly priced, it has value more than its intrinsic value. So she's started charging. She used to charge something like $10,000 those days, which was very prohibitive. So in her lifetime, till 1980 or so, she passed away. She trains only about 22 Reiki Masters. Their names are all documented, of course. Most of them have deceased. And so the Reiki lineage comes from these people and their students. So this is the history of Reiki. Now, Shrikant, we can go to the slides. Yeah, Reiki, Re means universal and Ki means life force energy. Next. Now we come to Reiki healing. Reiki offers holistic healing. It heals on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level, meaning it heals the mind, body, and spirit. At a physical level, it reduces pain, tenderness, and discomfort. On a mental level, it elevates mood, improves focus and clarity. On an emotional level, it reduces anxiety and stress, and causes deep relaxation and improves sleep quality. On a spiritual level, it increases intuitive awareness, helps connect better with the higher and inner self. Next. So these are the indications you can say for Reiki healing. I have given some conditions like chronic disease, chronic pain, etc. You can use it if there is a sprain or a mild headache or something, but it comes under complementary or alternative medicine, and it is not a substitute for conventional medicine. And you have to always take consent from the person who, when you are doing Reiki for them. So the conditions I have listed are like chronic pain, be it backache, knee pain or joint pain, or migraine, etc. And its use is in anxiety, depression, addiction, and also in Alzheimer's. I attended an Alzheimer's seminar in India, and this was with patients, doctors, caregivers, and everybody. And some of them did use Reiki also. And there is always a mental component or an emotional component for any kind of disease. So, you know, this is very important. And it's widely being used for chemo, before chemo actually, because the patient is nervous, and after chemo, and before surgery. And in some of the hospitals, it's also being done just before you give blood for any of your blood tests. And chronic disease, I wouldn't say it cures diabetes or hypertension or anything, but definitely it has a place because it promotes a sense of well-being, and your numbers, sugar and, blood pressure, etc., definitely will stabilize and come down. But it's not a substitute, and you should continue with your medication. And chronic fatigue, autism, insomnia, etc. And most of the time, when you do Reiki for a person or yourself, you will hear this, that the person fell asleep or you fell asleep. Sometimes when I cannot sleep, I'm sorry about that, but I should be using it more. But sometimes, when I'm disturbed or I cannot sleep, finally, at last moment, I try Reiki, and I have not gone beyond, my fourth or fifth hand positions. I don't know how it happens. I fall asleep. I should be doing it more. And its use is in palliative medicine or end of life support. And I was very fortunate to give some Reiki lessons to some cancer patients and their relatives, and some volunteers there, as well as some nurses. A couple of years ago in Bangalore, in the prestigious cancer hospital. It is a huge 1,200 bed hospital, and there is no standing room for patients. It's the main center for referral of cancer patients from all over the state. And I was very fortunate that it was a humbling experience. I will share it later. And it's also used in infertility in males and females. Infertility is a common problem, and of course now it is mostly treatable. But you can imagine that it is not a simple thing. It's from higher centers. The higher centers, the pituitary and the pineal, and all these are involved in this. Thyroid and all the endocrine glands and higher functions are involved in this. So it helps to be calm, and it's given to males and females, and to females just before ovulation or even after that when they are depressed or things like that. So it is being given. Next. So this is the history of Reiki. I already told you. The first one, of course, is Dr. Usui from 1865 to 1920. Some people say that it is 1930, but we don't know. He's the founder. The lady in the middle is Mrs. Hawayo Takata, 1900 to 1980, and Dr. Hayashi from 1978 to 1941. Dr. Hayashi was a very spiritual man, actually. And so this is to say that Reiki started as a spiritual practice in the beginning. Now it is different. It's also commercialized, but it's a useful technique nevertheless. And in the 1940s, they already, he was called, because he was a reserve officer, he was called to join the army. But he, being a healer, he didn't want to take life. So he said to have taken his own life or willed his death before that he makes this Hawayo Takata the Grand Master. And this is what the books have documented. And then, of course, Mrs. Takata is the one who spread it in America and in the rest of the world. But in India, it's not that popular as here. There they practice yoga. And yoga and Reiki are also, you can say they are both sides of the same coin. Next, thank you, Shrikant. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is Reiki Principles. This was also written or founded by Dr. Usui. So these are very important even today. I mean, considering that these were written in the 19th century, they resonate with the present technique of new thought or new age thought, because they teach you how to live in the now and here, and also to compartmentalize, like you live in the moment. So they say that just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I'll be kind to my neighbor and every living being. And just for today, I'll be grateful and give thanks to my blessings. So when you are actually in gratitude, you are more able to connect with the present moment and self, and you can be happy for the things you have and be grateful. And an attitude of gratitude is everything, and it is the best asset, as everybody tells you now. So this was, of course, not written like this. It was written in the form of a song. It is online, and it was told like a prayer in Japanese, and it is online. Actually, I wanted to put it, but then I was worried about the copyright issues, so I didn't put it. Next. These are the elements of Reiki. And when you learn Reiki, you have to have a mental and spiritual focus. And even if you don't believe in the technique, you should be open about it and give it a chance. And there are some techniques and Reiki meditations while learning, and hands-on healing, Reiki symbols, and finally, there are Reiki attunements. So we'll take up one by one. Next. So these are the levels of Reiki. Level 1 is also called Reiki Shoden. Reiki Ryo means Reiki teaching, actually. That's in Japanese. It's called Shoden. The elementary level, that is healing self and others. This is what is taught in level 1. Usually children, and the first, in the beginning, you are taught only Reiki 1. Reiki 2 is Reiki Okuden, the middle level. Here you are taught again healing self and others. And Reiki symbols are taught this time. We will know what it is. And also distance healing. Then level 3 is master's level. There is a level 3A, which is master practitioner. They don't teach, but they just practice. And level 3B, which is master teaching level. where you can teach. There are a couple of more symbols there. So when Reiki Master teaches or sends healing, we do add some of these. Each one of us have their favorite symbols, and it's different every time. And Master in here doesn't mean a guru or anything. It just means a teacher or sensei in Japanese. Next. This is a slide of anatomy. You can see that it is a basic one, and I'm sure you have all seen this in your high school science or whatever. The first one is a front view. The last one is a back view of whatever organs you can see and what is there. And this helps you to access or focus on the organs. And the middle one is of the endocrine glands. This helps also when we do the Reiki meditation, because the symbols and the Reiki principles are used in Reiki meditation. Here I would like to share something to say how important they are. My brother-in-law is a scientist. He doesn't believe easily, but I'm the only one who gives Reiki in my family, and he has taken Reiki from me once or twice, and he felt better. But he doesn't give credit to Reiki, but he says, because of my training as a doctor, I know exactly what is where, and it is so effective. So actually he is giving credit to Reiki, but he doesn't accept. Anyway, we love him for everything, and we love him more for such arguments. So this shows that Reiki is a very focused energy. So it can go where you intend it to go. So it does help a lot to know some anatomy, and you should know the anatomy. Next. This shows hand positions and chakras. The first one is of hand positions. Unfortunately, the first three positions went missing in the slides. I didn't get it at all. I mean, I couldn't get a picture actually. And the second one is of the chakras. If you see these carefully, even from the neck downwards, the hand positions correspond to the chakras. You are all Shrikant students, so you know all the chakras, where they are placed and all. So you can easily see the first picture in the hand positions correspond to the throat chakra and downwards, so on. So the first three positions cover the crown chakra and the third eye. There are three positions. And altogether, including the knee, the ankle, and the sole, there are 12 positions in front and 12 positions on the back. If you are doing the treatment, of course, you can make the person turn, and then you can give Reiki. But if you are doing for self, you can access whatever you can access. So this is about the hand positions. And Reiki and yoga go hand in hand, and some people practice what is called as Reiki yoga. So when a certain position, like a soul or something, is difficult, so you can be in a yoga position and then you can do Reiki, or there will be two people, one will be doing the yoga training, and then the Reiki master may come and give you Reiki to the particular places. So this is, some people are also practicing this. Next one. Now this shows the Reiki symbols. So you can see some Japanese looking pictures. These are the three most important symbols. And nowadays, of course, we had not seen the symbols, when I learned in 1998 actually. And then I did some other courses. And recently, about 5 years ago, I did the Sikkim Reiki. We'll talk about other systems, but they're all based on Usui Reiki. Usui is the father of all Reiki systems and ancient also. And the first symbol, like a coil in black, is called Chokure. It means put the power of the universe here. Put the power of the universe here. So it's very powerful. It's called the power symbol and also called the light switch. It is used in all types of healings, whether it is Reiki, Usui Reiki or others. And it is used first. You can draw it in the other way also. Like this is from the left means you can write it from the right. Or you can use a double chakure. So we all use what we were taught actually. And this is also used before putting the other symbols. And it enhances also the power of the other symbols. So it's called a light switch. And we can also use what is called as a Reiki sandwich. So first you use a chakure and you put all the symbols like the following symbols, which I will explain. And then in the end, you also put another chakure and you can send. So this is the very first symbol. The second symbol in green is called Seiki. This is the emotional or mental symbol. As we all know, there is always a mental component to all these things. And Seiki is used in all these. And when you are asked to heal in a mass casualty, like let us say there is an earthquake or tsunami, or you're asked to send, or you want to send prayers, you can literally send hundreds and thousands of these. And it's very effective, and it's usually used in abuse cases, or some people did past life or childhood issues and things like that. And Seiki is written like this. The third symbol is called Honsha Seishonen. You can see it's a long symbol, and this is the distance healing symbol. And all the symbols, mind you, are given to you. That means they are shown to you. Nowadays, everything is on the internet. That's different. But actually, all these are given to you only in Reiki 2. In Reiki 1, you are attuned. You have the symbols, but you don't have to learn them. But in Reiki 2, you have to learn all the 3 symbols. And the symbols are like mantras or keys of a sacred ancient system. And they should be treated with respect. And they do their work, and they enhance your healing, because we are all healers, but we don't know the symbols. But when you learn Reiki, you have learned all the symbols, and you are able to pass them to the people, and you're able to heal. So they are very sacred, and they should be treated with respect. And the third symbol is also called a pagoda symbol. You can look at it. Or it is also called a stupa, a Buddhist stupa, you can say. And you should know how to learn all this. Just like chakure can be written in different ways, this has got the most variations. There will be so many you will see, but you can learn one. And even if you make a mistake while writing, it's supposed to correct itself. So you can do this. And here, this distance symbol, distance healing is given in Reiki 2 only, not in Reiki 1. This is a useful technique. Here, I'm not talking about the distance healing, which is done, or a remote healing done over the internet, especially now during these COVID times. I think the business is booming and people are receiving Reiki by this method. And here you might see the person and you might talk to him. But in this distance healing, the traditional distance healing, you don't see the person. You can do it with a proxy. Some people do use a teddy bear or doll or something. And we were taught with you can write the name of the person on a small piece of paper. And that person, of course, will know that you are sending Reiki at that time. And they are asked not to cross the body, like body parts, because the Reiki is supposed to go in a straight line. And so, it interferes with the system. So the distance healing takes place after you connect this. It also tells you that, the meaning, another meaning is the Buddha in you, that connects to the Buddha in you. So some people also use it in meditations to connect to the higher self. And you can send the Reiki to the distance person, and it can heal. And this is another Reiki story I can say. This was immediately after I learned, maybe the same day or 1 or 2 days later. My daughter came here when she was 16 years old. She was pretty young at that time. Now she is almost 38, 39 years. She came for her college. And she was dependent on me at that time, not anymore. But one night she called me and she said that, Mama, I've got a severe headache. So I said, I felt bad. It was late in the night for me, and, she had just gone, and I felt a bit bad. So I told her, do something, take, tablets or something. She said, no, I've taken, it's not going and things like that. And I don't like to take many tablets. But do something, she told me. So I said, okay, I have learned this thing, and then maybe I'll send you, some Reiki to you. So she said, okay, do something. And then, I sent this Reiki. I couldn't believe myself because, I was new, and maybe I think it was just a day or two before I had learned. And after 10 minutes, she gives me a call. She says, Mama, this is scary, and, I feel okay. So you can see that, these are very, very effective. Next slide, please, Shrikant. This is a slide to show about Reiki attunement. This is an initiation procedure to open up and enhance passage of Reiki energetic pathways. And it allows the student to connect to the universal energy when you can truly and actually practice Reiki healing. Number of attunements and procedure varies from master to master. So it's different. I give some, and other person may give some more or some less actually. And the feeling and experience is deeply personal. It enhances the energy healing and pathways and increases intuition. Once you receive the attunement, it stays forever. It doesn't go away whether you practice or not. But of course, the more you practice, the more you are able to heal. And, so that's why we encourage that you do your self-healing even, or whenever possible, you can do this. There we had several opportunities to go and volunteer. So the students and us, we used to go and volunteer in healing centers, which are free. So this is about the Reiki attunement. It's a very unique experience. It's done in seconds or minutes. So this is being done by internet now. Even the certification is done by internet. While theory can be done like I'm doing now, the attunement has to be done in person, I feel. And I don't agree with the attunement being given by distance. And also here, I would like to add that hands are not the only ones where Reiki comes out. Souls are also, another source. Some people give Reiki to animals, I believe, with foot. No, we don't do it, I don't know. And the gurus and the saints, that they give Reiki from their eyes. And in my time in Africa, I attended one course of this alternative healing that was called Siddha healing. I never heard of that afterwards, but it was also powerful. There, it was free, of course, and there they healed with the eyes. So they would look at you intently, and so that was also one of the techniques. So there are several techniques which are useful, in alternative medicine. So you could use any of them once your diagnosis is done and everything is okay or nothing can be done. Then this is the best alternative. Next. The preparation for Reiki. So how do you prepare for your Reiki session if you have made an appointment or something? You should use loose, comfortable clothing. Of course, the session is fully clothed. You are fully clothed and there's no need to worry about it. And there's no alcohol strictly for about 48 hours because definitely it interferes with mental clarity. And preferably a vegetarian diet for 24 hours. And you wear minimum jewelry because the metals, they affect, the energy transmission. And you can carry your personal items. If it's a big group, you carry your own sheet or pillow or whatever, you're comfortable. But otherwise, if it's in a home setting, usually the person, who is doing the Reiki, they can provide a sheet or something. And you relax and, you keep an open and receptive mind. And the Reiki room is usually a very secure, warm, and comfortable room. And there may be some incense stick or something, a nice fragrance. And usually there is a live plant, which looks very attractive, as if, you're bringing the universal energy inside. Plants have a lot of life, that. And the Reiki teacher would have kept some tissues or something because some people become emotional. And because some people feel cold, there may be some sheets and things like that. And water, you have to be hydrated, before you go. And they will keep water because water is usually given after the Reiki session. Next. You may be interested to know what happens in a Reiki session. Reiki session lasts for about 45 minutes to an hour. You go and have a brief introduction of your complaint and, you meet the practitioner, get comfortable and lie down on a comfortable couch and relax. Don't expect this and that to happen, but just let it be, enjoy the moment. And the experience is subjective. It's variable and relaxing. And there will be some pulsations felt. And if there is somebody, someone was talking to me, a friend, and she told me that she has learned Reiki. Maybe she can give you some insights. And it can be felt in parts all over, or some may not feel anything at all. But almost always you feel a warmth. And it's a very comfortable warmth, as if, it's from infrared ray or something like that. It's very soothing. And some can feel cold as well, although the practitioner's hands may be warm. Reiki is cumulative. And as the day progresses, you may not notice anything at that time, but as the day progresses, you feel better and better. And also the healer feels very much, better because all those 45 minutes, you are actually not thinking about it because you are grateful that you have been given this opportunity. That is another thing. Before you start healing, the practitioner usually prays a silent prayer of gratitude for allowing that person to heal or giving a chance for that person to heal you or whoever. Next. Thank you. Reiki for self-healing. And this is, you can say, the best benefit of learning Reiki because most of us don't practice Reiki. There are several people who practice Reiki. And usually it's women. I'm happy to see that there are quite a few men in the session, and even in yoga. When we learned Reiki also, we were so many women, but then there was only one boy, who was in emergency medicine or something. He was also skeptical. He came to find out, but of course later he agreed that it was a good technique. And even I used to go to the yoga classes in my gym, and I've seen only one or two men. So it is good that, there are so many men. Credit to Shrikant, actually, that he is able to, influence so many men into yoga. And there are a couple of men. Anyway, it's good that you are joining. Thank you. And here also, again, you choose a quiet and comfortable spot where you're comfortable. Lie down and be seated in a comfortable chair. And relax, you take a few breaths and then say a small prayer or connect with the higher self if you feel like. And you feel grateful that you are able to heal yourself. And for your health, if you're a healthy person, you can do even if you're a healthy person. And use your hand positions. And session lasts minimum for about 15 minutes. It can go on to 45 minutes if you have time. And last, of course, there is a technique to balance yourself. And of course, gratitude. And a word about the hand positions, especially when you are practicing on others. You have to be culture sensitive. In India, you may not mind, if you touch like the heart chakra, on the chest area and things like that. But the culture here is different, or in another place, it may be different. So you always, have to tell what you're doing, and only if they permit, you can do. And you need not always touch. Another beauty of Reiki is you can always have your hands held about 4 to 6 inches away from the person. Many times we don't touch also. And in burns patients, when you can't touch and all, this non-touch technique is very helpful. You can do it from a height of about 4 to 6 inches also. And when there are culture issues, you can do it, you need not touch the person. You can do it at that time. It is equally effective. And the hands should be held, usually during a healing session, both hands should be on the person's body. If there is no place at that particular place where you're healing, then it should be elsewhere on the body. Sometimes we put one hand on another to advance the healing. So this is about Reiki for self-healing. Next. We're almost coming to the end of the session. And these are non-healing and unconventional uses of Reiki. There are several, and one is Reiki for plants. Some of us who know or who love gardening know that plants love to be admired. At least I have found that when I tell anyone or I feel that this plant is useless or it's hopeless, it's not giving you flowers or anything, they don't do well at all. They even die. So I'm careful and I like to be positive, and I praise them and they do better. And here I would like to share one experience I had. I was visiting my relatives in Bhopal, and I met a lady while walking there. And she said that she's a Reiki healer and she teaches. So she invited me to her garden. I went there and she showed me 2 potted plants of Indian key limes, the small limes. Both were looking quite healthy. The leaves were good and they were of the same height, bushy and everything. But one had unimaginable number of fruits. You could hardly, see the leaves. It was that full. And the other one had about 3 or 4. They were potted plants, mind you. So, the nutrition they received have to be the same. And she told me that she gives Reiki to the one where there are too many fruits. And I'm sure she does. And Another thing I would like to share here is about what B.K. Shivani feels. Brahma Kumari Shivani, I'm a big fan of her, and I watch a lot of her videos, and it has helped me to change my mindset. I'm very thankful to her. And she shared a story in one of the videos. Of course, she didn't call it Reiki. She said the power of thought. She believes in Reiki. She does talk about it, but her it's not her thing. So she was talking about the power of thought. So she told us about, in that show, she told about a Brahma Kumari center somewhere. There was, I believe, a very huge big mango tree in India, and it used to literally yield hundreds and thousands of fruits in season every year. But the sisters were not happy because they considered it as a nuisance. And because, in India, there's one festival for the other, and people want, for pujas and things like that, they would come for the leaves. And then when they are small, as soon as the green mangoes come, the children come and ask for them, or they throw stones. Then they ask them for pickles, and when they fruit, it's another thing. They have to pluck all of them, or they fall down, and they didn't know what to do with so many mangoes. So it interfered with their work, and they were not happy. So they sort of did negative thinking, you can say. So when it became too much, B.K. Shivani told that the tree didn't yield anything, not at all, for about 7 to 8 years. Then they did puja and stuff like that. And then it started yielding. So I thought it was very interesting. And the second one is Reiki for water. We all know about it. And some of you might have heard about the Japanese scientist Emoto, who did some water experiments. It's on Google, the pictures and everything. When you put good thoughts into your water, the crystals are formed in a very beautiful way. If you put bad thoughts or negative thoughts before you drink that water, it shows some black areas and things like that. Same thing with food. We know that food is blessed before, you do the, you eat and things like that. And the other thing is money. You can do Reiki to your purse and wallet. It's like Lakshmi. It's not wrong to ask for money. And here, I want to share with you something which was talked about by a Reiki Master in India. Some of you might have seen her, otherwise it's worth seeing. She is Mrs. Rajeshwari Modi. She speaks in Hindi, and she is kind of a guru now. She has got a lot of following. She is a Reiki Master, but she has developed her own Reiki called Narayan Reiki. And I believe there is a big clinic in Bombay. And she does these Reiki sessions. And she's a very interesting speaker. And I listen to her also. So she said that there was a bank. And in India, the banks are very busy. And there are several counters to give cash. But the manager noticed that there was one line, for one teller or one cashier, where the lines were very, very long. And even if the other lines were short, people would not go there. These were the regulars. Of course, the new ones would go anywhere. So even if the manager went and told, why don't you go there? They never went. They would stay here only. They're okay and all that. So he was surprised, and he asked them, why do you insist on staying in this line? Then they told him that whenever we have taken money from this cashier, our money multiplies, or, good things happen to us. The results are good. That's why, we want to take money or loan from here. Then he was surprised, and he asked the person who gives the money, the cashier, what do you do? Why, people are saying like this? So he said that, when I give the money, anyway, I have to hold the money. So when I hold the money, I just, pray or wish for a moment that whatever purpose this person is taking this money or loan, should get great benefit from this. And I wish that person. So, they also tell me that if they have taken it for a student loan, the student does very well. If it's for a marriage, the loan or cash has been withdrawn. So, the marriage is highly successful. And if it's a house, it does very well and things like that. So this shows that, power of thought, or this is Reiki. It is very helpful. And there is Reiki box. This works with the law of attraction, which is the in thing these days. And I think it works also. You make a box, then you can put whatever, your decoration, whatever you want to put, you can put this on the box. And you can put your affirmations or what you want to get or things like that, or even your purse, etc. in this box. And you can do Reiki on a periodic level or daily, how you feel. And it's supposed to yield good results. And it's for health, wealth, prosperity. Whatever your affirmations are, it's supposed to work. So this is the last slide. And before we go to questions, I would like to share certain other things. Thank you, Shrikant. The slides can be done now. The next is questions, I think. Yeah. So we talk about Reiki group healing. And here, 2 or 3 or more practitioners, 2 or more, even sometimes 5 or 10. I went to learn Reiki at a place in Rockville. There are several people, who are doing the healing at the same time. The main person will be at the head, and then the others. Sometimes there can be 2 on either side, and then they can be for the center. So this doesn't last as long. And different Reiki people, masters and practitioners have different techniques and different healing levels. So the healing is supposed to be good. And there are Reiki clinics which we hold, and many people, even Reiki share is like that, Reiki circle. So many practitioners come together, they heal each other. To know what it is. And it's mainly a place to connect with the other professionals and so on. And that is about Reiki share. And you can do Reiki with crystals. And there's Reiki jewelry. You can say it's commercialization, but some people believe in these things. So they wear Reiki symbol earrings and Reiki pendants and Reiki cufflinks, things like that. So there are other systems of Reiki like Karuna Reiki, which is, like compassion. It was developed on the same lines like Usui. It was developed by a man called William Rand in the 80s. And one of his disciples is supposed to have some symbols revealed, and that is Karuna Reiki. I have done Karuna Reiki. It's a useful technique. It's mainly spirituality. There will be some Reiki guides, and you can connect. And then there is a Lightarian Reiki, which is developed on Buddhist principles. And then there is one called Sikkim Reiki. I was curious to find out. It's derived from an Egyptian goddess. And this was developed by a man called Patrick Ziegler. And I believe he was stuck in a pyramid for 24 hours or so. And there he was revealed these symbols. So that is supposed to be very powerful. I went to the Reiki Master, David, here in Rockville. And he runs a very good clinic there, and it's very orderly. So it was a 3-day one-on-one teaching. And it was a nice experience, to see how they teach. And it's a powerful technique, but I don't use it actually. I use whatever I have learned. And as it is, I just do the Reiki for myself and, my family sometimes, very rarely, and very few others, like friends. So this is about Reiki. And lastly, I would like to share my experiences with the cancer hospital. So I used to know the doctor in charge of palliative care, Dr. Lingegowda, and him and me, we decided to teach some Reiki to the patients and their relatives, because that hospital is a miserable place, especially the palliative unit. And I thought that they would benefit. And so we did over a couple of weekends Reiki for the volunteers who volunteered there, and then some Reiki, some patients and their relatives who were admitted at that time, and some student nurses and some interns who were doing a rotation in the palliative section. And some people, of course, they didn't believe it. They said that it is religious, and one or two nurses, and it's brainwashing and stuff like that. But soon some matrons came, it was 4 or 5 matrons came saying that, oh, we heard that there is a miracle happening here. So you can see that it's individual, and it has power. And it worked. And you can do it in your own home or like a plane, I told you. And lastly, I want to share this with my friend. Subhashini is her name, and I'm very proud to say that she was an ambassador, but she's a very simple friend, a simple person, and she and her husband are close friends to me. She is a big Reiki believer, and she and her husband learned Reiki from me when they were visiting here. Her son lives very close to me, so we spend a lot of time when she visits her son and stays here for a couple of months. And 3 of us, we took a long distance train to Bhopal again. And she was very tired because she was preparing food and this and that for the trip. And it was an early morning train, and she was very tired, and she had neck pain and backache and stuff like that. She was tired. It was early morning. And added to that, there was some excitement for everyone because we were going from Chennai, and that same morning, Jayalalitha accused Shashikala's sensational news was there. So she was, on edge, like what was happening and things, like being an ambassador, she was used to all this politics and this and that, and Chennai local. So thanks to Indian Railways and, our age, it was a first class AC, and we hardly paid, $50 to $60. It's unimaginable, and I'm very grateful that we had this experience. We were just 3 in the compartment. There was not even a 4th person. So we had Reiki for her every now and then. And whenever the station approached, she would just say sorry and then, apologize, and then jump up to catch the internet and the news. And then she would lie down and, she would receive Reiki. This shows, this we call Reiki at 100 miles per hour, just like the Reiki at 30,000. So you can do it at comfort, and, it's flexible, and it's a very useful technique. So I suggest that you may learn Reiki, or you may go to some healer, if you have any problems. Definitely, it's going to help everyone. So here I end my presentation. I would like to thank my sister Lalita for doing all the slides so professionally. And, when it was a Zoom presentation, I was a bit nervous. And thank you, Srikanth and Rekha, for being supportive and trying out the Zoom, once or twice. So Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.